Boy, oh boy, last speaker, wow. And you know, sitting back there, you guys heard so much from this stage, so much talent, so many incredible things. And I was sitting back there trying to absorb it. It's just amazing and stuff coming from the stage. You're that important to us that we're trying to get to you, to expose you to some of the things that drive, that we're passionate about, hoping that we ignite some of your passions too. Some of you already have that kind of passion. And the thing that I think that unifies all of it is that, you know, this is the TED stage. All the things you heard today, pretty much everything is played out on that stage, on that planet. You know, everyone that all of our ancestors, that's where they lived. In the future, most of our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, that's where they'll live. You know, that's our planet. That's Earth. And Earth, you know, has conditioned us through the ages. You know, it's been an obstacle. It's allowed us to evolve. It helps us to grow. You think about what if you go against Mother Nature. Hurricanes, floods, droughts, tsunamis, things like that, climate change, volcanoes, tornadoes. You're really fighting a real big battle that's tough to win. So we are behooved to learn about this planet and to learn to use it wisely. And you know, you'd think because we went into outer space that we can see that planet, that we know everything about it, but we don't. And the reason we don't is because most of it is covered by that, all that blue. Mostly covered with water, 70% covered with water. That's the Pacific Ocean. So if you take the Earth and spin it around, take away the clouds, that's the view you get. And the ocean, on average, is about 2 miles deep. That's a lot of water. And so it takes a long time to explore it. And I can tell you right now that we've only explored about 95% of what's out. No, I'm sorry, we've explored about 5% about what's out there under the sea. That means there's 90-something% of the ocean that has been unexplored. And by unexplored, I mean we don't know what we're going to find when we go there. Okay? Exploration means I'm going someplace I've never been before. I'm going to see things that I've never even dreamed of. I want you to think about that. You know, that's one of the themes today. Think about that most of the planet that you live on is unexplored. We don't know what's there, and yet we need to understand it. Okay, so exploration first, and then understanding comes later on. If you take away the clouds and everything and flatten out the Earth, this is what you see, and it's a lovely map of the oceans, and a lot of it's artistic because, like I said, we don't know a lot about what's under all that water, but we know that there's the greatest mountain range on Earth. We know that it's 50,000 miles long. It's called the Mid-Ocean Ridge. It winds around the Earth like the seams on a baseball. We know there's huge valleys, many, many times wider and deeper than the Grand Canyon. So they got mountains, you got valleys. The highest mountain on Earth is beneath the sea, Mauna Kea, the volcano. There's underwater rivers. We call them currents at the surface, but deep in the ocean, they're there too. So there are underwater rivers, underwater lakes. I'll show you a picture of one of those, underwater waterfalls. And inside there, as Sarah said, some of the most bizarre creatures living in worlds where we said there should be no life at all. So that world, our world, is unexplored and full of surprises. And here's the thing, here's the rub. The oceans, no matter where you live, if it's Dallas, if it's New York, if it's Miami, if it's Africa, the middle of China, Tokyo, India, okay? The oceans are responsible for the air you breathe. Every other breath of air you take comes out of the ocean, 50% of the oxygen. The food you eat, the water you drink, rainfall patterns, all that rain comes out of the ocean. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink, coming out of this body of a thing, this entity on this planet that we've yet to even begun to understand. And part of the reason is we need technology. You know, and the technology is hard to come by. This is our ship called the Atlantis, and it's got the submarine on it called ALVIN. And we use robots a lot these days too. I've used robots. Robots are great, but there's something really cool about this because that little submarine has got 3 people inside it. And that's one thing, one message. It's all about an exploration, about teamwork. It's not Dave Gallo or one person out there on the deck of a ship. There's 50 people on board that ship, everyone working together as a team. And so these 3 people sitting in that little space capsule go over the side of the ship. You splash down nice and easily, and 2 to 3 miles below you right now, you know that there's this unbelievable, unfamiliar world. The divers check out the outside of the sub to make sure it's okay to dive. You get the okay from the surface ship. You add a little bit of water to the ballast tank of the sub, and down you go. There's the divers checking out the sub. So 3 people heading down, down, down for it's about a 2.5-hour trip. In the first half hour, light blue, then deep blue, then dark blue, then pitch black for about 2 hours, absolutely positively pitch black. Now you're sitting in the space capsule, and we know that right there where you saw ALVIN, where you see ALVIN sinking down, even if the Titanic, the mighty Titanic, was that deep, the ocean would shred it, just like you could take a paper cup and shred it just like a piece of paper, just like a paper cup. That's how powerful the ocean is. That's why I brought my prop. Because I want to tell you that if you understand the ocean, even as powerful and violent as it can be, if you work with it, things can be really good. Before we dive, we often take a coffee cup like this, and we decorate the outside with a Sharpie. Now this goes outside, styrofoam is full of air. We put it outside the submarine. It's all decorated, and then the submarine starts its dive, and the ocean very gently starts to squeeze that cup. The pressure builds and builds and builds, even to the point where it would crush the Titanic and rip it to shreds. And by the time this cup gets to the bottom, that's what you end up with. So that's the real size coffee cup that went down on the outside of the sub, and by the time it gets to the bottom, that's the coffee cup. Okay, the ocean squeezes every little bit of air out of it, but look at the shape is perfect. So you can work with the sea, and I wanted to show you that. So here we are in this dark world, and these are the mysterious animals that Sarah talked about, because once you get where there's no sunlight, we said there should be no life at all. And so when we go there, we're surprised that everywhere we look, we find mysterious animals. And this is a jellyfish, it's a siphonophore. That one's only about that big, but fully grown would be wider than this building, longer than this building. Just an amazing animal. It can be 100 feet long. Okay, and you see the trouble is that if you tried to collect it with a net, it would fall apart, and you'd spend days and days trying to put that animal together again, trying to figure out what it was on board the ship. But now with our technology, with our teams, with our robots, and with our submarine, we can get in the water and actually see these animals where they live. And it's unraveling and unfolding this beautiful world beneath the sea that we never knew existed. They all twinkle at one another, just an amazing world. On the bottom of the sea, we're getting used to understanding what the sea floor is like. And there we find a record of human history. Whatever you put on your parking lots or golf courses or backyards eventually makes its way down to the sea. Sometimes humanity comes in big clumps. Titanic's one of those. That's the bow where Jack was king of the world in the movie. And so that's Titanic. And we're really learning how to work with Titanic, with shipwrecks like Titanic. They're very dangerous places to go to. There's lots of sharp edges. You're in a submarine about 2.5 miles deep. There's things that could poke through the porthole. There's cables that could wrap around the sub. So we're being very careful about understanding how to work around shipwrecks by learning from Titanic, and it's been fascinating for us. And now we're getting pretty good at it. And in fact, we're trying to build a virtual Titanic so anybody with an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Wii or a Wii U can take that data set and explore Titanic the same way we do. But the important thing about Titanic is that every single year, about 14 ships, you never hear about them because they're just carrying cargo, not a lot of passengers, but a lot of ships sink every single year, sometimes carrying hazardous waste, and now we're learning from Titanic how to work with those ships. This is a still photo. It's from some of the work of Bob Ballard, and I want to show it to you. So you're looking there at a little beachy area, some rocks on the right side with a little notch that waves have cut. You see the waves, there's some water there. That's at the bottom of the ocean. So you're looking out the window of the sub at a puddle of water beneath the sea, and it's as clear as that. And sometimes they can be lake-sized, so you can have these lakes beneath the sea that I mentioned before. And right away people said, well, nothing can live in there because it's too salty. It's super salty. That's why the water stays low. And we said, that's true except for all the animals we see living inside there. So we were wrong. There's lots of life inside there. We keep making these assumptions about what's going to happen in the deep of the sea based on what we see up here under the sun and find out that we're wrong and wrong and wrong. We were really surprised when we went to that mountain range and found this stuff coming out. That looks like black smoke coming out of the seafloor. The temperature is hotter than you can get a grill in your backyard. It's like 700 degrees Fahrenheit. The water is really poisonous. The depth is really deep. It's 2 to 3 miles, sometimes 4 miles. So we were positive because it's so deep, it's so dark, poisonous fluids, constant earthquakes, in the middle of nowhere, that there's going to be no life at all. And for many, 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 many years, that's what we assumed, that all the life was up there in the blue and the sunlit sea, but when you got deep in the ocean, that there would be no life at all. But instead, some scientists exploring not only did they come across life, big animals, not just little animals, but they came across these incredible communities of life. And you're going to see them coming into focus here. And all these animals are really weird. They don't live off sunlight. They really live off a little microbe that likes to eat that poisonous stuff and turns it into food for these animals. Okay, that stuff coming out of the sea is incredibly poisonous, but it's lifeblood. And there's, in terms of diversity, different kinds of animals and density, more life here than the tropical rainforest. So again, we were wrong about life on this earth, and it's all beneath the sea. But I don't want you to think that, I want to show you this, that it's not all the deep ocean where all the fun is happening. This is shallow water. My friend Roger Hanlon, who studies octopuses and how they can camouflage themselves. And here comes a scene where we're going to be going across the bottom. This is the last clip. And here we come. There's an octopus hiding in here. And there he is. Isn't that amazing? And you know, Roger Hanlon's done some incredible work. You should go check out his website on octopus camouflage. But once again, even in shallow water, where we were sure we knew what was going on, we're totally amazed at some of the animal behavior there. So in closing, you know, we're going to watch this animal turn back in. It's hard to believe the animal there on the right can turn into that stuff on the left, but they can do it. And the thing is that you have to have new eyes. You have to think differently. And we have the technology to do that. And now it's up to you. You know, my generation's done our turn. He's gone. He's gone, and now so am I. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.